Hi guys, so I came across this beautiful underbust Pinafore dress on Pinterest and I decided that we should make it and it came out so beautiful. As you can see, this is the back of the dress looking so nice and this is the front. It's giving office vibe. So if you like it, you can also make it. If you've not subscribed to my channel, please do well to subscribe. Also give my video a thumbs up and turn on your notification bell. So I got the 2 yards of crepe and this tassel which we'll be using to design it. The first thing we are going to do is to first of all calculate our measurement by dividing it as usual. And after that, we are going to start by making the skirt part of the dress. So I'm going to take my length, my skirt length measurement, which is 35. I'm going to mark it. Make sure when you are marking that you are marking equally. Note that when drafting my pattern for this skirt, I did not add the length allowance, so I'm going to add it later on the fabric. So after that, we are going to take our hip line. My hip line is 9 inches, so I'm just marking it there and also taking the straight line. I always like being accurate in every measurement I'm taking. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to mark my waist measurement, which is 7¼ and I'm adding 3 inches to it. 1 inches for that and 2 inches for allowance. I'm using 2 inches for my allowance on this dress. You can decide to use a lesser inches or more, is your choice depending on why you are making the dress, but I'm using 2 inches. I always like using 2 inches for every dress I make. So yeah, my hip measurement is 10 inch and I also added 2 inch. Then while coming to the down of my penciling to pencil my skirt, I am removing 2 inches from my hip measurement. I always say this: when you are making a short pencil skirt, you remove only 1 inch if it is on the knee or above the knee, but once is a long gown, you have to use 2 inches so that it can pencil properly. So yeah, this is it. I have curved all my lines. I've connected all my lines, and the next thing I'm going to do now is to mark my dart. To calculate for your dart, you have your waist divided by 8 plus ½ inches. So my waist here is 29 divided by 8 plus half is going to be giving me 4¼ inches. So I'm just going to mark that. Now that I've marked it, I'm just going to give a dot to tell you the length to which my that sewing is going to be. So the next thing I'm going to do is to mark 1 inch at the side there. Then I'm going to connect it to the dart. This 1 inch I did is so that I can remove every form of bulging that should have come up on the waistline. So now that I've marked it, I'm not going to cut off that bulging. And first of all, I'm going to use this pattern for I'm going to use it for my back. When I've cut out my back, I'm going to use it for my back cutting, which is what I'm doing now. Now I'm adding my 1 inch for folding on the down. As you can see, I left the space there. Then I'm also adding my zip allowance, which is what you can see. That is why that space you are seeing me leave at the side is there. So I'm using just 1 inch for my zip allowance. Now I've cut it out and I'm just going to open the zipper allowance. Okay, we've done that. Next thing is to cut out our front pattern. Don't forget to notch for your darts. Yeah, just notch for our darts. So now we've cut out our front. You can see it's equal to our pattern drafting. So now we are just going to do our dart notch, and also we can now cut out that bulging, because the bulging is only necessary to be cut out at the front of your dress, not at the back. So now that we've done that, we just have to remove our pins and take away our patterns. So we'll move over now to the upper part of the dress cutting. So now we want to do the pattern for our upper part, our upper body, and all we need is just our underbust measurement and our waist. And we also need, I didn't write it down, we need our length measurement, which is our breast length and half length. So yeah, our half length is 17.5, which is on this book, is written down there. That is what I'm marking out now. Then after that, we mark our shoulder, and then we connect the line. Then the next thing we are going to do now is to mark our underbust length, because that is where our dress is stopping at. Mark it. Like I said, make sure your marking placement is accurate. Now that we've marked it, we're just going to connect our lines, and after that we can now take our underbust measurement. Well, underbust measurement here is 7.5. We're also adding 3 inch, that's 1 inch that, and 2 inch allowance. Yeah, don't forget, in doing our basic measurements, our that usually stop at our underbust, so it usually affect our underbust and waist. So that's why we're adding our that allowance to our underbust. So now we're going to just take our waist measurement, which is 7.25, and then the allowance and that also. Then we connect it. There's a slight difference on the body. Now time to go over to the upper part of this. Now on our shoulder, which is 8 inches, we're just going to mark a distance of 5 inches for this person. Why it's like that is because the person has, which is me, I have a wider shoulder, as you can see. So depending on how small your shoulder is, you can make your neck wideness to be smaller. So but here I'm using 5 inches, and that 5 inches I marked up, I'm also marking it below, that's on the underbust, and the remaining 3 inch which affects the shoulder, I'm also going to mark it there, so that it's going to give a straight line. Yep. So now we've done that, we are now going to do our shoulder slant, just as if we are doing our basic body pattern. Connect it. So guys, we've just this is it's just so simple to do. Remember that you added that allowance, so it's either you mark it here so that you don't forget to add your that allowance, or when you are cutting your dress you mark it out. So now we've cut out our pattern. This is just how our pattern is. We will use this pattern to cut on our fabric for the back first, which we only need to add our zipper allowance. We use it to cut for the back, we'll add our zipper allowance, then we'll now use it to cut for the front. Remember to add ½ inch down below for joining. Also remember that it is our exact front body measurement that we use in cutting with to our pattern. So guys, we are done cutting both the back and the front pattern, and this is how it looks like. Sewing, I'm going to be using bias. Yes, I'm not using a facing, I'm using bias. You can use a facing, but for mine I'm using a bias. The reason why I'm using a bias is to save material. Let's say save material, to manage material. Yeah, so now I'm using my bias, and if you are very good in using bias, you won't have a problem using it. You just have to first sew it the way I'm doing it.
I was a lonely silhouette, needed somebody to show the way. Yeah, I was a heartbeat with no sound till you came around. Yeah, you showed me colors, light in the darkness. You were the only thing I needed. Then we got older, but we stayed the same. Swear that.
So we are done sewing the first part of the bias. We'll just notch, make sure you notch so that it won't have to pleat or fold your fabric together. This notching helps to make your fabric smooth for sewing. So yeah, I'm just going to turn it backward also and then close it up. Then to sew your bias properly, and you won't have any problem using it to turn your fabric. It's either you use a bias for your turning or you use a facing.
We never lost the flame. Nostalgia, you're an echo in my head. Oh, nostalgia, like a symphony of our memories. Oh, nostalgia, don't you ever slip away. Oh, nostalgia, like a symphony of our memories.
Okay guys, we are done turning the neck of this, and this is what it looks like. You can see how neat it is. You can see, so neat. As long as you can sew your bias to be neat, you can actually use your bias to turn. So I'm going to just do the same thing on the back of my pattern of my fabric also, and then the next thing I'm doing now is to hold my darts with ½ inch. Remember where we notch, from there you just take ½ inch in and sew.
I was a lonely silhouette, needed somebody to show the way. Yeah, I was a heartbeat with no sound to you.
can see now I am done with sewing my dart, and this same thing you did to the front, you are replicating it to the back also. So after this, the next thing I'm going to do is to do my darts for the skirt part of my dress. So this is my fabric, and I'm also holding my dart. Remember I said for the length of your darts, I am using 6 inch length. I'm using 6 inch length, which I am going to make sure it's accurate by marking it out.
Came around, yeah, you showed me colors, light in the darkness. You were the only thing I needed. Then we got older, but we stayed the same. Swear that we never lost the flame. Nostalgia, you're an echo in my.
Okay guys, we are done sewing our darts, and this is what it looks like. We just have to join it to the upper part of our dress by pinning the darts first so that the darts will meet each other. Pin both darts to each other, then you can now sew. You have to pin it. If you don't pin it, your darts won't end up being equal, and it won't be looking like that of a professional work. So you have to make sure your darts meets each other. Now I can remove my pin, and just as I sew this front part, I am also going to do exactly the same way to the back. You can see how my darts are meeting each other. Exactly the same way I did to the front, I'm doing it to the back. So this is it. You can see that is what I did here. So the next thing we are just going to do now is to join our shoulder together. Please, while picking your fabric in doing this, make sure your fabric is not the stretchy type. If your fabric is the stretchy type, before you sew finish, you might end up seeing that your dress added in length. So just be sure of the fabric you are using. The fabric I use for this is a crepe fabric, like I said before. So this is how my shoulder is looking like, and then I am going to now fix my zip. You can see how I'm fixing the zip. It's very close so that it won't have to give too much gap at the back. Since I'm not using an invisible zip, I couldn't find an invisible zip in this color. I don't know, I think this kind of green is very rare in getting it exactly on the thread and zip. So yeah.
What if the years turn into gold? The longer we live, yeah, the more we grow. We could be
Okay, we are done with that part of the zip, and we are just going to, you can see how close it is. We are just going to do the same thing on the other part of the zip, and that is it. Once you are done with that, you just know that your dress is almost ready. The next thing we are just going to do now is to cut the remaining excessive part of this. It's either you cut the excessive part of this zip or you sew it completely into your dress, but I had to cut it out because I want a very high slit. So yeah, I'm just going to sew my slit part. Now if you watch what I'm doing, on that part where I started sewing, which is close to the zip, is 1 inches, but on the full length of the slits, that's the end point where the slit is going to stop, I'm going to mark it to go in by 1.5 inch. I'm using a 38-inch slit length, then I am marking it inside by 1.5 inch. So it's just like you are going like a slit, a slant, I mean, from 1 inch to 1.5 inch inside, which is what I'm doing. Then you can tie. If you are sewing a pencil skirt or gown, anything, just make sure if you do it this way, there's no way your dress won't pencil properly. So yeah, this is it, and we are now ready to put our pleated sleeve. And what I'm just going to do is to mark the length, and it's giving 12.5, so which is supposed to be around 24. So marking my length, I'm using a long fabric of width 6 inches and length 48 inches. Yes, because of the pleating. So this is it. I'm going to fold into two. That's 6 inches width. I'm going to fold into two to give me a 3 inches. Then I'm going to sew together so that I can have a close end. I'm going to do this thing on the both side of the long piece. You can see what I'm doing. Just turn it and then do the same thing on the other side.
apart, but it's never far. Yeah, you show me colors, light in the darkness. You were the only thing I needed. Then we got older, but we stayed the same. Swear that we never.
So guys, now that I'm done doing this, I will just take the two edge to meet each other so that I can get the midpoint of this piece. You can see it, that's what I'm doing, and I will just notch it. Now after notching it, I will take that midpoint and put it on the shoulder point of my dress. You can see, and then either you pin it together or you sew from that end. Sew from on top of your shoulder to one end while pleating, and do the same thing on the other side also. You can see how I'm doing my pleating, very little. I could not do a ruffle pleat, that's a straight up ruffle pleat, because of the texture of the fabric. It's kind of has a little more weight, so it will be difficult for me to do the ruffle pleats down. So that's why I'm pleating it directly on the fabric, that's on the dress, I mean here. So you just keep doing it that way until you get to the end of this point.
I was a lonely silhouette, needed somebody to show the way. Yeah, I was a heartbeat with no sound till you came around. Yeah, you showed me colors, light in the
So guys, we are done putting our sleeve, and just as we did it on this hand, we will do it on the second hand. You can see how it turned out to be, and it's looking already beautiful. Now we are going to put our tassel placement. Just place it as you like, depending on how many tassel you have. Here I had just 10 pieces. 10 pieces. So I'm just spreading it around the dress. Then after I'm done with this, I'm just going to tack it, and our dress is ready. Please, if you have watched up to this point, I appreciate you, and do well to subscribe. Please like and comment, and I'm going to see you in my next video. Don't forget to turn on your notification bell also.
darkness, you were the only thing I needed. Then we got older, but we stayed the same. Swear that we never lost the flame. Nostalgia, you're an echo in my head. Oh, nostalgia, like a symphony of our memories. Oh, nostalgia, don't you ever slip away. Oh, nostalgia, like a symphony of our memories. Oh, like a symphony of our memories. Oh, what if the years turn into gold? The longer we live, yeah, the more we grow. We could be